Hello and yes, welcome back to another video, guys. Now this is going to be a long video. Today I am ranking every single movie I saw that was released in the UK in 2022. Now, I have seen so many this year. I'm up to 144 or 43. I can tell you if I load up my notes. So I have seen way too many movies this year. And here's the thing. Normally I do this all in one video. Today, I'm going to be splitting it into two videos. Part 2 will be coming early next week. So today, we are going to go from 143 to 51. And in 50 to number 1 will be done in another video. Now, as I say, I've done an individual top 10 best films of the year, so you guys already know that. And my top 10 worst films of the year, I mixed up a bit. Sort of just talked about films which people actually paid somewhat attention to. So that is my bottom 10 here are going to be a bit different. But some of these films are just things which not many people watched. So I thought they're not really worthy to go on the top 10. You know, they're just a bit unworthy, really. So, yeah, as I say, guys, if there's a film missing, you're like, where's that? It's probably going to pop up in my next video. But there are a few films I obviously didn't see this year. There's a couple, like Bones and All I didn't see this year. And then there's other things like Babylon and The Fablesman, which haven't been released in the UK. They're going to be 2023 releases here. And as I say, some of these on Letterboxd or IMDb will say 2021, probably because they either aired in America then and they come out in 2022 in the UK, or maybe they were at a film festival in 2021 and they premiered to audiences around the world in 2022. So, yeah. And, you know, at the end of the day, guys, remember, this is just my opinion. Take it with a pinch of salt. I'm going to scooch on over here so that we can bring the movie posters up. And we're gonna cut half the screen in half here. We're gonna have them take up the whole screen because it's easier for me in the editing room to do it this way. And we got so many movie posters to bring up. I'm gonna be a bit lazy with this one. I've got a drink here as well. I recommend you do the same. Go get a drink, or probably food actually for you guys. I need the drink because my voice is gonna go throughout this video. But yeah, you guys go get a snack. Pause this video. Go get a snack, and yeah, come back because I am gonna try and breeze through a lot of these. I'll be very brief because there's a lot to do. If you do want to see more detail as to my reasoning towards these movies, every time I watch one of these films, I do a review on Letterboxd. So just search these films and have a look for my review. So yeah. Anyway, cheers. Right. Let's see if that sorted the voice out. Here we go. Coming in dead last place is a film that went straight to DVD. I watched it because I assumed it was an actual sequel to the first movie, which also was pretty bad. But nevertheless, I watched it. It's terrible. It's not a part of the Conjuring universe, but it is The Legend of La Llorona. This film sucked. It's meant to be a horror. Wasn't scary at all. The actual creature, the effects they used on it, honestly, I've seen people at Halloween parties look more scary and more realistic than this. I didn't jump once. The story made no sense. Danny Trejo, I think that's how you say his name. What the hell was he doing in this movie? My God, it was terrible. Easily the worst thing I watched this year. In general, like TV, everything. It's the worst piece of media I saw this year. Awful. Then, in 42nd place, we have The Munsters. Yes, of course. You know, this was dead last on my ranking, my top 10. This is a film people did pay attention to, people did care about. It's by Rob Zombie. The Munsters are the popular characters, you know, from way back when. But this film sucks. It looks so cheap. There was nothing that good about it. The dialogue, the acting, everything about it was awful. It's going for this very outdated sense of humour and look. And outdated is what it feels. This film doesn't work at all. It's really quite bad, and I wasn't a fan of it at all. Then, in 141, we have Morbius. I occasionally see someone try to defend this movie, and I don't get it, because I'd like to know what was that interesting about it, which makes it worth defending, because it wasn't interesting at all. Morbius himself is not one of the best Marvel characters. He's not a great villain. He's not a great hero. In this movie especially, he's a terrible hero. His powers are not super interesting. The plot of this movie is stretched so much. And yeah, the villain is awful, Matt Smith. I feel sorry for him doing that dance. And yeah, the end credit scenes are just laughable. So Morbius. Then we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I like the original film quite a bit, actually. This one here feels so empty and lifeless. It feels like they just made this movie for the sake of it. There's no interesting characters. It follows a very copied and paste Halloween 2018 plot line. And yeah, Leatherface just isn't that cool in this one. I know some people raved about this bus scene, but I really wasn't a fan of it. I thought it was kind of sloppy and it was kind of really goofy funny. And the ending absolutely killed me with laughter. Then we have Choose or Die. Wow, this is one of those films that had a really kind of cool concept, but then it went nowhere with it. The deaths in this were laughable. The tension didn't feel like it was there. The acting was horrible. And the biggest criticism with this movie is it was just so boring. It was just so boring. Then, in 138th, we have Senior Year, starring Rebel Wilson. Now, I'm going to be honest, the first 10 minutes of this film was okay. You see a younger version of herself, played by the actress who plays Betty Brant in the new Spider-Man films. And that was okay. And then it done the time jump. And I swear to God, this became one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like, Rebel Wilson, I'm not a hater of hers. I don't really mind her, to be honest. But she was terrible in this movie. So obnoxious. And I never really want to see her in the lead role again. She's much better in a supporting role. None of the humour worked, and just everything about it just fell flat on its face. It was a terrible movie, terrible concept, everything about it, bad. Then, in 137, we have Brazen, a murder mystery movie which makes absolutely no sense and doesn't feel realistic whatsoever. There is no way in a murder investigation, anything to do, you know, a crime, that this situation would play out. There's no way to go, oh, let's get an author in here. No, that wouldn't work. And just from the word go, you know that this movie is going to be stupid. And that's exactly what it is. It is so incredibly dumb. And the whole time I was watching this movie, I remember just thinking, I can't connect with any characters. I can't get behind this story. Because none of it feels natural. None of it feels real. On top of that, you've got some pretty naff acting and a terrible script. Then, Big Gold Brick. This is one of those films, because don't get me wrong, these are all bad films, but there was a curiosity to watching all of these. This is the one where I'm like, I don't even know why I bothered, to be honest. I can tell you why, actually. Oscar Isaacs is in it. They put his name all over the posters, and his face is there on the poster, and he's in it for like 2 minutes, to be honest, and he's pretty terrible in it. You can tell he was there for a paycheck. It's the first time I've seen Megan Fox in anything for a while, and she's as bad as I remember. The main guy in it, who I always remember from the second Mamma Mia film, I quite like him, but he can't save this movie. The plot is just so idiotic, and there is no drive for this movie. It feels like there isn't much passion behind it. And by the time you get to the end, you're well and truly pleased it's over. Then in 135, we have Halloween Ends. This was actually one of my more anticipated films of the year because I really liked 2018 and I was a defender of kills because it was so much gruesome fun. And, you know, I've reviewed this film in detail. I talked about it in my top 10 worst films of the year. This film fails in every area. Like, the characters don't feel real. The script around them is terrible. No Michael Myers. Well, barely any Michael Myers. Laurie's character arc just feels completely ruined in this one. In terms of filmmaking, the cinematography and the score and the lighting, it's all terrible. And there's this new kid in it who's truly atrocious. And yeah, everything about this film really sucks, to be honest. So yeah, go figure. Then we have Moonfall. Another pretty hilarious film. I like disaster films, but this one was just... It's probably the worst disaster film I've ever seen. And I've seen Into the Storm. But this one here was just so bad. Like, the moon literally bounces off the earth. Like, I'm not kidding. It bounces off the earth and the earth is fine. I don't know much about this. I'm not the smartest of people, I can admit that. But I know that the earth wouldn't be fine after that. Moonfall was bloody awful. It was so boring. It had a huge identity crisis. At the end, there's aliens and stuff. And it does this hilarious thing where it's like, oh, we're going to tease the next movie. The kid from Game of Thrones is like, oh my God, you know, here's a little tease of what's to come. Like, nope, not going to happen. See you later. Then we have Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. What a mouthful. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are a bit, I'm not a huge fan of them, to be honest. It's just something I always endure. I watched the original movie from the 90s. I thought that was okay. And the two Michael Bay produced films suck. But I thought, I'm going to give this one a go. But this was awful, honestly. For a start, the voice acting was so annoying. And it's a shame because there's a couple voice actors in this that I really like. The animation style was... It looks so early 2000s. It looks so out of date. And the plot itself, again, paper thin. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles weren't together for very long. The human characters were annoying. This wasn't a great movie, unfortunately. But here's to hoping that the film coming out in 2023 will be pretty good, I'm not holding out much hope, but we'll see. Then we have Blacklight, one of Liam Neeson's films. I think he had three of his action films out this year, I think. I missed one of them because I'd sort of given up at that point. But this one was... Yeah, I really don't remember much about it, to be honest, guys. I know that I was just so bored for all of it. And it's a shame, because I think when Liam Neeson started doing these films in, around the Taken non-stop time, they were okay, because there was a couple that followed, like Walk Among the Tombstone, which I quite enjoyed. But now it's just got to the point where I honestly couldn't give a shit about them. I end up just watching them because they're on Prime normally, and they're just easy watches in the background while I'm doing stuff. But this one was just so boring, and I remember not giving two shits. Then we have the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. This film here, I really wanted to be good. I like the animation style they've gone with on this. I like the fact that they grounded it a bit more, because the last Ice Age film went, we had aliens. I like Ice Age, and it was a shame that those films just really got carried away. This one here grounded itself a bit more and, say, good animation. But unfortunately, everything about the film was really quite bad other than the animation. Simon Pegg's the only returning voice actor for it, really, out of the big ones. And, Buck is much better as a side character. This is another great example of why some side characters should remain side characters. His character wasn't good enough to lead the movie. All of the new side characters were boring and annoying. The plot, again, there just wasn't enough here. This should have been like a 40-minute special, maybe. They stretched it beyond belief. And it's a really sad way for this franchise to sort of end. Then we have Fall. Now, Fall, I knew what I was getting into with this movie. You know what you're getting into with this type of movie. And for the first hour, I was like, do you know what? This is bad. But, it is what it is. It's embracing it. And then it does this twist at the end of the movie. And when I say it's probably the most laughable twist I've ever seen, genuinely, don't watch the movie because it's really bad. But just go watch the twist for this movie. Have someone on YouTube explain it, because it is hilarious, and it really just made this film lose about 20 places on its ranking. The In-Between, one of Joey King's efforts this year. I think, she's had 3 films out. Look, she can be a good actress when she wants to be. And I kind of enjoy watching her do bad films after watching those Kissing Booth films. But this one, it was bad and it was just boring, and I really don't have much to say about it. It was, again, it had a bit of a... crisis with identity. What was it? A romance? Was it a horror with a haunting? It's a weird one. Strange, very forgettable movie. Then we have The Royal Treatment, which I watched because it had the guy from Aladdin in, and I was excited because there was loads of rumours about him playing Ezra Bridger at the start of the year. Doesn't look like that's happening. But I thought, I'll give this a go. I quite like him. It's on Netflix. It's an easy watch, and look, this film, you've just seen it done 1,000 times. It's very much, that don't mess with the Zohan, coming to America type stuff. But it's just not as good here, because with those two films that I just mentioned, you've got these outrageously funny characters and really good actors behind them. And here you don't have that. The characters are very flat, very boring, and you're not really getting much out of anyone here. So yeah, it's a movie that just exists. Then we have Mother Android. See, this is one that I believe came out in 2021 in America, starring Chloe Grace Moretz. I do like Chloe Grace Moretz. I do try to watch most things with her in. In fact, she had a really good TV series out this year, The Peripheral. But in terms of films, she has a habit of picking not great ones. This was better than Shadow in the Cloud, I'll say that, because that film was Oh, wow, that was terrible. Mother Android was really, really quite bad still. Well, I don't know. It had a very cool concept. I believe this one's based off a book as well. It's just, it did have a very cool concept. It's just unfortunately they decided to do nothing with it. It reminded me a lot of those bad seasons of The Walking Dead where it's like, oh cool, you're in this really cool apocalyptic type thing, but you're going to stick our characters in the middle of nowhere where very little is going to happen to them. And you don't have that much juice on this story because you've isolated everything. So, yeah, take from that what you will. That's what this movie is like. Then we have Chicken Hair. I saw a few people talking about this when it came out, going, oh, this was quite a fun little animated film. And I thought, okay, go on then, I'll give it a watch. Why not? The poster looked fun. I knew this was for, you know, people a lot younger than me, obviously. And yeah, I just remember thinking, wow, this is really boring. The animation looked really cheap. It reminded me of those, like, the Reef films that were coming out in the late 2000s, early 2010s, maybe. Where it's just like, wow, these are just really trying to cash in on just parents putting it on for their kids. And don't get me wrong, it'll work there. The kids will love it. But, you know, still not a good film. Okay, then we have, I can't read the Kevin James football team one. I've forgotten the name of it because on my notes I've only put a picture of the poster without the title of the movie on. But this movie right here, it came out really early on in the year as well. So, yeah, I apologise for this. Now, Kevin James is not an actor who I'm a huge fan of, to be honest. I don't find him that funny. Here he's trying to do something a bit more serious, but it does blend with a bit of comedy every now and then. And, yeah, the thing with this movie is, again, this is a movie that you've seen 1,000 times. You just don't feel connected to any of the other people on his football team, or his American football. Yeah, not real football. You don't feel connected to any of these people. And from that, you don't get this really great story that you could. Again, I feel like there is a decent movie in here, but I didn't utilize the fact of the amount of characters they had access to. Instead, they focused on just a couple, and they didn't progress them very well. And yeah, very boring film. Anyway, have a quick drink. Okay, I'm going to try and keep the voice alive, so at the end of the video I'm not, so this film's really good. Right, next up, sound like Voldemort there. Next up, where are we at? We're at 124 with Netflix's The Bubble. This is a film I was really, really looking forward to. I like the concept of it and it had a great cast. Set during COVID, unfortunately, they just really didn't do that much with it. Again, it's a cool scenario that they've put these characters in. When I say cool, I mean like an interesting one where you can make a good movie out of it. And again, they just really didn't utilize that. They really didn't have the characters doing anything too interesting. And then it gets to the point where stupidity takes over the more interesting writing. Pedro Pascal was probably the only good thing about this movie. Everyone else was completely wasted. Then we have No Exit, which was a very, very cool idea for a film, and I was really intrigued by this one. There were some good aspects about this one, but my main issue with it is that it was way too long, even though I don't think it was that long at all. Again, it should have been like 50 minutes to an hour. It was really stretched. And it was way too dark. I could barely tell what was going on for half the film. I remember the moments where I genuinely couldn't make out what was going on, which was a huge issue with this film. Then we have The Contractor. Chris Pine had these two, like, straight to streaming films out. I think this one might have been Netflix. One was Netflix, one was Prime, I'm pretty sure. And they both were just so forgettable, to be honest. And yeah, this was the more forgettable of the two, obviously. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't awful. There were some interesting moments, some cool action sequences here and there. But at the end of the day, you really just didn't care what was going on. And, you know, Chris Pratt's character, something very tragic happens to him at the start of the movie, and he gets over it like that. And it's like, wow, you got over that quick. Then we have Spiderhead. You know, I talked about this one in my video yesterday. It would have worked well as like a 40 to 50 minute Black Mirror episode. But unfortunately with the runtime it had, it became so stale and so boring. And Chris Hemsworth was awful in it. If I was in charge of the Razzies this year, I'd be tempted to nominate Chris Hemsworth for one. Because his performance was terrible. Miles Teller, I don't know what he was doing. And if I'm correct, this is from the director of Top Gun Maverick, and I just don't understand what happened there. Then we have Marry Me, which, look, I like Owen Wilson, I do. And the thing about this movie is, it's so completely stupid what happens at the start, but it's right at the start, it sets up the plot, and it's in all the trailers. So if you can get past that, you might actually have an okay time with this one. And look, there was some sweet moments to it, and Owen Wilson, I like that guy, but yeah, all in all, it's not a very good movie. Jurassic World Dominion, one of the worst endings I've ever seen to a franchise. My God, I despised this movie, to be honest. In fact, looking at it now, it probably could go down a place or two. But you know, this film was just so ridiculously bad. There's so many reasons why this film should have been good. You know, they're in America, they're actual places around the world, not just an isolated island. You know, all the characters from the original are coming back. What big bad dinosaur are we going to have in this one? Oh wait, we've got locusts, which are just eating crops on farms. Yeah, this film is just so bad. The plot armor is ridiculous. The villains are terrible, and yeah, this film is fucking awful. Then we have Pinocchio, the Disney one. Don't worry, the Guillermo del Toro one, we'll talk about that, but in the next video. So, hint, hint, it's quite high, that one. Yeah, but the Disney one, I was looking forward to this. Great director, Tom Hanks. You got the Disney budget and some cool little musical numbers. And it all just fell apart, to be honest. It was a mess of a movie. There were a lot of elements about it which just didn't work at all. And, yeah, that's about it I've got on that one. And we had the 355, which was one of the first releases of 2022, January, and it was one of those typical January releases where it was like, that was not very good. You got a really cool cast, and there are some fun action sequences, but the plot is just so overly predictable. Also thought that the cast itself, it promotes these 5 women, and I was quite looking forward to seeing what they do with the oh, I forget her name, the Asian actress in it. I was really looking forward to seeing what they do with her. And then her character gets shafted. She doesn't appear till like the halfway through, and then she's barely in it. And it's like, oh, this seems fair, you know. Great job, Hollywood. Cheers. So yeah, I don't know. What they do with Sebastian Stan as well is so obvious. So yeah, cheaper by the dozen. Yeah, I watched this because I liked the first one, you know, the original, and I thought this would be okay. And you know what? I suppose this is the point where the films have gone from bad to we're all right now. We're okay. These films are still kind of bad at the minute, but they're fine bad. This is very self-aware of what it is. It's obviously not as good as the original, you know, but it's fine. I don't have a lot to say about it. It was a lot better than Home Sweet Home Alone from Disney last year. Green Lantern, Beware My Power. This is the new animated DC film, and yeah, it's okay. It's kind of boring. The matchups between some characters don't really work, and I was happy when it was over, I guess. So yeah, there's Green Lantern. The Valet. This film had a lot of room to be really good, to be honest. I like the idea of it. I like the 2 actors they've got in it. It's shot kind of well, I guess. The issue with it is it's about an hour and 20-minute film, and they stretch it to just over 2 hours. It is way too long, like way too long. This film definitely needed to be trimmed down, and I think we would have had a solid film there. DC's League of Super Pets is next. Some people were really trying to defend this movie, and I didn't get it. I thought it was just so... I mean, don't get me wrong, it was okay. It wasn't awful, but it was just so mediocre. Like, the characters and stuff, the way they were written, and the voice acting from The Rock and Kevin Hart wasn't great. It was really predictable. The villain was way too over the top for me. Again, I know it's aimed at kids, but I'm a DC fan. I went to this film, and at the end of the day, I didn't like it much. So, yeah. Day Shift's next, one of the most forgettable movies of the year. Jamie Foxx. I don't know why he keeps signing up to films like this. They're below him, to be honest, because can be a really good actor. There's some cool action sequences in it, I guess, but it's a very, as I say, it's just forgettable. The Bob's Burgers movie. I don't mind Bob's Burgers. My friend Luke showed me the first season of it, and it's fine. I'm not into those comedy things much. And this was fine. It was very middle of the road for me. It's like, yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Simpsons movie, just not as good. where it's like, yeah, they've just taken an outrageous plot here and put it to film. But I honestly didn't realise that Bob's Burgers was big enough for a movie, which is the most surprising thing about this. You know, I can't believe, like, Rick and Morty hasn't done a movie, but Bob's Burgers has, so this is the world we're living in. Okay, 110. We've got Memory. This is the other Liam Neeson film I watched this year. It was better than...
I found this on the web.
Sorry, Siri? I apologise. Siri's interrupting me. Yeah, Memory. It was better than the other Liam Neeson one for sure. I actually got a little bit more into the plot, and I thought Liam Neeson himself was better in this one. It was shot a bit more interestingly as well. It felt like some effort had gone in, but at the end of the day, I got very bored with the story. Hocus Pocus 2 is next. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of these type of movies in the first place. I thought Hocus Pocus 2 was okay. I thought the human characters were pretty awful. The witches were fun, but I got really cringed out when they started singing, is it One Way or Another? I found it really cringy. And I think that these type of movies, they should leave them where they were in the 90s or the early 2000s. That's where these films belong. And yeah, I found it more cringy than anything. Then we got Samaritan, which is a film which should have been so good. The idea of this film is so cool, seeing a retired superhero come back and Stallone's playing him. What a cool concept. I saw the plot twist coming a mile off, but again, I thought it was still a cool plot twist. But they focused too much on this annoying kid who's just terrible in it. And the villain sucks, and even Stallone just looks like he doesn't want to be there. It's a shame. This film could have been really good. And we have The Princess, another Joey King film here. You know what? I kind of respect this film in a way. It has style to it. The action scenes, as over the top as they are, and as easily as Joey King's character should have died within that first fight, it's a very Fast and Furious thing where you accept what's going on and you just have fun with it. And you can do that with this one. It is kind of fun, as idiotic and over the top as it gets. But, yeah, there's no doubt it's still not a great movie. It suffers from weak villains and just a very predictable plot, I guess. So, you know, it's a very simple one. But, yeah. The Man from Toronto is next. Yeah, Kevin Hart had like 2 films out this year which are identical to about another 10 films he's made, where it's him paired up with another big Hollywood actor, and they don't exactly see eye to eye. Kevin Hart's playing the straight guy who needs to just get home to his wife and family, whereas the other one's a bit more mental. And yeah, the thing is, Kevin Hart does gel well with some actors, like The Rock, and another film he done this year, which we'll get to. He gels with that actor more. Woody Harrelson, he doesn't. Yeah, I was very uninterested in these two's chemistry, and it just didn't work at all for me. Deep Water is next at 105. This is Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. Yeah, both of them are giving great performances, especially Ana de Armas. The film itself, there's some interesting elements to it, but then it is bogged down by some really over-the-top decision-making and some side plots here which just didn't really line up for me. Didn't really feel like they were making too much sense. So, yeah. It's a weird film, that one. Then we have The Interceptor, which people probably think is too high here, and it probably is. It's not a good movie, this. But I kind of had fun with this one. This is one which I did switch off a bit for, and yeah, it was a fine little fun action film. I thought that the lead actress, Chris Hemsworth's wife, she was really good. And Chris Hemsworth had a couple cameos in it, and he was kind of funny in it, you know. He was actually okay in his little cameos here. I was expecting just one cameo, and then he did keep coming back. So maybe they went a bit too over the top with it. But, you know, I thought they done okay. The Weekend Away, cool little murder mystery thing. I was really digging this film, and then it done what, you know, this is what happens with every murder mystery film. It either makes it or breaks it at the end, and this one broke it. I was really up for giving this film a good review, and then it got to the end, and I did not like the conclusion at all. So, yeah. Okay, Hollywood Stargirl is next at 102. Yeah, they made a sequel to Stargirl. And, yeah, this is fine. It's fine. It is what it is. It's a movie that come out, and it's got some heart to it. It's got some very... They're nice songs, but they're kind of plain, a bit like the first movie, and a bit like this poor musician actress who stars in it. I like her, but her music feels very plain to me. You would have thought Disney would go for someone a bit more upbeat, but yeah, it is what it is. And then 101, just missed out on the top 100, Me Time, the other Kevin Hart film with Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, this one was the one that got rinsed by people online, but I preferred it just because I think him and Mark Wahlberg had better chemistry. Mark Wahlberg does make me laugh as well. He's just barely in the movie. But I'm really sick of these Kevin Hart films now, so I'm hoping that he actually tries to do something a bit different next, but we'll see. Anyway, going into the top 100, so I'm going to have a quick drink. Cheers. Right, 50 films to talk about. Let's do it. My Son next. Again, this is another one that was released in 2021 in some places, but it was 2022 here in the UK. Very interesting film here, James McAvoy. I really like the plot of this one. I thought it was really well shot, actually. Some beautiful shots in it. And the score was kind of good. But, I just found the conclusion a bit underwhelming. So, it dropped a few places for me. Hotel Transylvania, Transformania? I don't know, something like that. Yeah, they couldn't even get Adam Sandler back for this one. But you know what? These films surprised me. You'd think they'd be absolutely terrible by now. They're on the fourth one. But they're not terrible. This one was okay. This is the point we're at now. We're at okay films. But you would expect this one to be terrible, and it wasn't. So it did surprise me in that aspect. And I think the voice acting all round was pretty good. Other than maybe the guy who was doing Dracula in this one, wasn't the best. All the Old Knives, Chris Pine's other straight streaming movie. This one was better. I liked the scenario that he was put in with Thandie Newton's character. Their story was developed quite well. It was, are they working together? Are they not? Should they trust each other? That side of things were really, really interesting. That's the thing. This film felt like it was chopped up into two stories, and it more or less was. That story was really good, and then the other one was just very uninteresting. And I just always wanted to get back to what Thandie Newton and Chris Pine were talking about. Against the Ice is next. I love these kind of movies up in Antarctica and stuff, where, anywhere polar, just where it's snowy, they're on the ice, things could go wrong. I like these kind of films, but here, it just felt, this movie had moments where it got really interesting like that, and then it had other moments where it just got really boring and it felt like nothing was happening. The Wanderers next. This film here, I respect this film a lot in some areas, like, cinematography-wise, it's gorgeous. The score's great. The acting, Florence Pugh is putting in a fantastic performance here. Unfortunately, why this film is so low is because it is boring as hell. The plot is so uninteresting. I didn't care at all about any of the characters or what was happening. I didn't care about the outcome. And then by the time the film ended, I was pretty pleased it was over. But it's got this high because I give it credit on a filmmaking standpoint that it's a beautiful film to look at, and the score's great. There's effort that went in here, but there's the more interesting plot, please. Slumberland's next. Jason Momoa is trying to do his Jack Sparrow, Mad Hatter kind of character, and yeah, he's okay. He's having fun in the role. I think this movie's okay. There's a lot of heart to it, actually. I think the last 20 minutes or so are quite nice, but the build-up to get there, it's a bit of a slog at times. Some of the CGI, isn't great. So yeah, Slumberland, it's alright. It's a real mixed bag. The Grey Man is next. The Russo brothers' new movie. Great cast. The last act of the movie is really fun, and I did have a good time with it. The showdown between Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling is really good. It's a shame that the first two acts are really, really boring. There's a couple good action sequences thrown in there, but I'm starting to now think that the Russo brothers got lucky with the Avengers films, because everything else I'm seeing from them hasn't been the best. Amsterdam is next. I really like this director, and my God, the cast for this movie. Wow. How did they get this good a cast and make this boring of a movie? It was so boring. There are some really good elements about it, though. Don't get me wrong. The sets and the costumes are great. Some of the cinematography is nice. Even the score's pretty good. And the actors are all putting in 110%. Christian Bale gives a great performance. And, I was really trying with this movie. The first 40 minutes or so, I was into it. And then eventually I realised that it just wasn't going to get better. And I lost interest. And, yeah, it exists. 92 is Don't Worry, Darling. I was so excited for this movie because I loved Booksmart. and Florence Pugh, of course, is in it, and even Harry Styles. I liked Harry Styles. But this film made no sense. Like, literally, when it got to the twist, why things were happening, none of it added up, really, to me. Harry Styles didn't put in a good performance, unfortunately, and I really want to stick up for him because I tried to defend him, but his performance was pretty bad in this. Florence Pugh, hands down, is the best thing about this movie. And some of the cinematography is nice, but this film became such a contrived mess at the end. Persuasion, next. Yeah, you know, this film was alright. This was okay. There's a lot of reasons to like it. The costumes and the sets were just beautiful. Some of the cinematography was good. I thought that... I can't think of her name. Woman who's going to play Madame Web. Can't think of her name. Anyway, someone let me know in the comments. Thought she gave a really good performance. And, you know, the poster kind of ruins what happens, to be honest. But it's obvious where the movie's going anyway. But this journey to get there is quite nice. It has some very slow moments in it where the film does lose you. But overall, it's got a lot of heart to it. Disenchanted. Yeah, I grew up with the original Enchanted. It was on a lot when I was younger. This was quite good. I definitely think they could have gone with a better and more interesting plot. And again, it has that modern, straight to Disney Plus feel to it, where it looks kind of cheap at times. But it was fine. It's a fine movie. I'm not going to complain about this one too much. It was a lot better than Hocus Pocus 2, I'll say that. And that was number 90. It's coming in 89th place is Smile. Yeah, this was a cool concept, and it was a fine movie. I thought, you know, there was a lot of interesting... we're getting to decent movies now. We're going up. We've stepped up a league. Yeah, Smile, it scared me a few times, but I thought it was pretty predictable where the plot was going. The ending, I quite liked the ending. I know some people didn't, but, you know, I thought the ending was fine. The Adam Project next. I really like this team of Ryan Reynolds and this director, because I thought Free Guy was a lot of fun. This one, not as good, obviously, but there's some really cool elements to it. I thought it was an interesting plot. I think where this film went wrong was it was too long. And because of that, it had some pacing issues. And then by the time you get to the end, you do feel like the middle act maybe dragged a little too hard. But there's some very cool stuff in here, nevertheless. A lot of great actors, a lot of great effects. And I like the kid in it a lot. I know some people saying he's annoying, but I thought he was quite good. Black Crab's next. This one comes a recommendation from Movie Worm. He was trying to persuade a few people to watch this, I think. I thought this was pretty good. Solid little action film. I like the fact that you got to know the whole team, so when, like, on this mission, people would start to drop off, you did feel a bit like, oh, I didn't want that one to go, which is all you can really ask for with these type of movies. But, yeah, the film itself, it was good, it was fine, it was a fun little action film, and, yeah, it didn't blow me away, but I thought it was fine. Coming in 86th, we have Uncharted, starring Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, you know, I actually haven't played the Uncharted games, which surprises people. So I didn't have a huge connection to the miscastings, which this film apparently had. Tom Holland felt a bit different to Peter Parker in this one, so, I mean, I'll give him a bit of credit. Mark Wahlberg didn't really have loads to do. But it's a fun little adventure film. It's not going to do anything that blows you away. It isn't great. I've actually watched it 3 times this year, just because it's been on telly a lot. Yeah, it's kind of obvious what happens, and then at the end they go really ham on the CGI, but it is what it is. It's a fine movie. In 85th place, we have Minions: The Rise of Gru. Listen, this movie, I'm fully aware of what it is, and you just gotta. I went into the cinema. I even had a couple drinks before I went in, just so I could acknowledge that I was watching a Minions movie, and they know what they're doing. It's switch off, brainless fun, and you know what, the Minions, they can be annoying at times, but they were quite funny in this one. And you know, Gru's in it, so it felt more like a Despicable Me film, which I liked, which is why I preferred this to the first film for sure. And they went so mental at the end, I kind of loved it, because that's what a Minions film is. So yeah, right, another quick drink. Cheers. Right, where are we at? Number 84, Troll. Very, very cool concept, and there's some very cool moments in this movie, like when you actually see the troll. The human stuff is dumb. It really reminds me of like Godzilla King of the Monsters, like the American one, not the original, because I know that got a side title eventually in America, King of the Monsters. But the new Godzilla reminded me of that, where it's like whenever the monsters are on screen, so much fun. The human stuff just dumb as hell. And we got Black Adam, The Rock. You know, the hierarchy of power is about to change in DC or whatever he was saying. Took him 13 years to make for it to get the sequel to get cancelled after about 2 months, which I find kind of funny. This is such an average movie. It's fine. You can switch off and have a lot of fun with this one. You absolutely can. There's some good elements to it. But, you know, they had to really nerf characters like Dr. Fakes. He just would have absolutely obliterated Black Adam. The dialogue is terrible. The Rock isn't very good in this movie, which is a shame because it took him so long to make it. The human kid and his mum are like some of the worst characters of the year. So yeah, Black Adam, yeah. Then we got Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Look, this film could be a bit higher, to be honest, because it opened well and the final act was really good. But the middle of it was really bad. You go off to a wedding where these characters aren't even in the movie. They aren't present. It just cuts to the human stuff, which really sucks. But yeah, I have hope that the third one will finally get a really good Sonic film, because so far they've both just been alright. Then we have Your Christmas or Mine. I really like this film. I can't lie. There was a lot of heart to it, a lot of sweet moments. You really feel connected to all of the characters you get, and what type of people these people are. And I think it all works well. They all bounced off each other, you know, nicely. It's not going to blow you away. It's just a sweet throwaway Christmas movie. But it's a fine one. I really don't have many bad things to say about this one. It's very innocent. Then we have Death on the Nile. I preferred this to Murder on the Orient Express purely because I was happy with the ending. Murder mysteries. The problem with this one is the first half of it sucks. Like, to get to the murder, the interaction between characters isn't good. The acting, especially from Gal Gadot, is terrible. Yeah, enough champagne to fill the Nile. And the CGI as well is awful. But when the murder happens, this film does surprisingly become interesting. So, yeah, you've just got to get there. But once you get to the second half of the movie, it becomes quite entertaining. You just got to get there. 79 is going to Thor Love and Thunder. Yeah, I quite like this in the cinema. If people look back at my review, you'll be able to see me saying, it's not that bad, it's pretty good. Yeah, my opinion's changed. This is the film this year where my opinion has drastically changed. I rewatched it and decided that, yeah, this actually isn't a great movie. It's fine, look, I don't dislike it. I just think that Ragnarok was so good that I was expecting this to be really good. The amazing story arc that Thor goes on in the two Avengers films is great. And in this one, he's brought back down to a very shallow, immature, over-the-top clown, and a lot of the side characters just follow him. Jane does this, even though she has this really emotional story going on. Valkyrie also does this. Is it Odin? Yeah, he shows up. No, Zeus. Odin's dead. Zeus shows up, and he's also a bumbling idiot. The villain's pretty good, but he's barely in it. The effects are pretty good, but then you have the floating head, which pulls it down. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mess of a movie, to be honest. I'd say I had more fun with it than bad, but I can acknowledge the bad a lot more now. Ambulance is next. Some people enjoyed this film. I think I just don't like Michael Bay. It's just so over the top and annoying. The dialogue is garbage. It's so bad. The action sequences are just so over... I appreciate some of the effort he went through to get some of these shots, but some of them are just so annoying. And the constant quick cutting and the American flags in your face every 2 seconds also annoyed me. Saying that, it is fun. You can have fun with it. It's like the first Transformers film. It's fun. It suffers from the exact same problems that does, but it's fun. So yeah, it's like a 6 out of 10, something like that. Then we have The Lost City at 76. This film was pretty fun, actually. I think Channing Tatum's really funny. You do get the connection between him and Sandra Bullock. It works. And the Brad Pitt stuff's hilarious. Daniel Craig, not Daniel Craig, Daniel Radcliffe. He doesn't really, he's too nice to be a villain. He's too nice. That's one of the things that didn't work for me, unfortunately. But yeah, this is a fine little watch, to be honest. I have fun with it. Jackass Forever is 75. The reason it's not higher is just because it is just a bunch of little skits. I do really like this movie. It's really funny. There's a lot of laugh out loud moments, and there's some moments where I was just sitting in the cinema going, oh. I Want You Back. Charlie Day. I really like this guy. I find him really funny. You know, Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's really good. And it's a really kind of, it's that typical rom-com-y type movie. We've all seen it before, but it's really sweet. There's a lot of heart between characters in this, and I was really rooting for these characters to end up together at the end. And, you know, it's a really nice, pleasant, innocent watch. Doesn't do anything amazing, but... Okay, then we have My Policeman, the other Harry Styles film. Look, I didn't hate this one, obviously, because it's 73. It's made it about... we're nearly halfway now. It's some nice character arcs in it. It's always... I was always interested to see who would actually end up with who. When you got this three-way relationship, and there are some people who aren't aware of the other part of the relationships and stuff, it makes for an interesting plot, admittedly. And you do sit there and go, I wonder who's going to end up with who. But it's definitely quite a sloppy film. There's some issues with it. But I also appreciate, like, the set designs and stuff. I always love going back to this era. Like, I think it's the 60s setting. But I love going back to, like, 50s, 60s, 70s. It's always really cool. And I think they've done a good job production-wise. So, yeah. I'm going to have another drink now. It's going to get more frequent, I'm afraid, because I can feel my voice going. And the time's cracking on. Right. The Tender Bar. This was another one which, again, 2021 some places. Here in the UK, 2022. This film was pretty good. I enjoyed this. I thought Ben Affleck was great in it. One of his better performances. I'm really pleased that he's starting to work on more films like this instead of just Batman. Even though I'm not sure that was entirely his choice to step away from Batman. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of heart in this film. I really like the direction it went in. The relationship he has with the main kid in it was great. And yeah, very wholesome little story there. I had a good time with it. Then we had Birdie. I can't see the full title again because I've got the movie poster and it's a bit blurred. But I watched this, of course, because it stars Ramsey... Oh, I can't remember her surname. But, you know, she's going to be in The Last of Us show coming up. So I wanted to see... I have seen her in a few things before. Game of Thrones, His Dark Materials. But I wanted to see her lead something here because, obviously, she's got a huge task ahead of her with The Last of Us coming up. And, you know, I thought she was pretty good in this movie. It gave me a lot more faith in her being able to play Ellie. I thought that, what's his face? The guy who, from the Sherlock show, who played Moriarty. I thought he was great in this movie. So good. And it was weird seeing Billie Piper in a movie. I haven't seen her in anything in ages. So, yeah, this one was kind of fun. Then we have Pearl at number 70. I really wanted this to be higher because I really liked X. And we'll get to X in the next video. This film was such a big step down for me from X because while there were some interesting bits about it, I love the colour palette of this movie, the set designs again, and the cinematography was gorgeous. I get the idea that this character is meant to be very unstable, but she was just so over the top. I thought the actress was really over the top. There was a bit where she was running after someone with an axe and she like swiped, hit her once, swiped, hit her twice, and this person's still running. It's like, you've been hit with an axe. You'd be down on the floor. Wasn't scary. It wasn't much tension to it. I thought it was... Look, I obviously liked it. I thought it was a fine movie, but it was just very obnoxious, I thought. Number 69. Hey! Lightyear. Wow! This film was disappointing. Look, I actually liked Lightyear. I thought it was good, but I thought it was going to be great is the problem. I loved the 4 Toy Story films. And when this film got announced, I was like, that's such an amazing idea. I love the cast. The trailer with the David Bowie song. I was like, my God, this is going to be great. And it came out and it started off okay, like the time loop thing, very Nolan-esque. And then the plot just sort of went nowhere. It became very stale. Zurg shows up eventually. He was way too big. I didn't mind the plot twist they done with Zurg because, you know... I don't know. I thought it was fine. I know some people wanted him to be his father and stuff, but, you know, whatever. I didn't mind that, but yeah, and then the film just sort of ended, and I was like, that was okay. I mean, that was good. Why wasn't it amazing? So yeah, anyway, Lightyear, disappointing, but it's okay, it's fine. Then we had the new Hellraiser, which I quite enjoyed. Obviously not as good as the original Hellraiser, but I like the fact that with this one, it embraced the wacky, weird side of this franchise. The back half of this film was so much fun. The first half did drag a bit in places, I must say, but the back half, A-star for me, I loved it. Windfall was in 67th. Yeah, I quite enjoyed this movie as well. It was fun to see these three characters thrown together, and they all sort of really obviously don't like each other at all. And it was very interesting to see how this story was going to resolve itself, and I had a lot of fun with seeing how that played out. Number 66 is going to The Secrets of Dumbledore. This might be a bit high for some people, because I know some people hated this movie. Look, for me, it was an improvement over The Crimes of Grindelwald. It's got some really boring moments to it, and the overall magic of the Wizarding World feels very lost with Harry Potter at the minute. But what I'll say about this film is, we get a lot of big blockbusters today, where they just throw shit at the screen and hope it sticks. I like the fact that there is world building here. You get some political side of stuff. I enjoy that kind of aspect of movies like this. I think that's why I love the Star Wars prequels, because while they're not the best made movies, the world building is incredible, and you feel like you're not just getting a typical blockbuster. They are trying to build upon this universe really well, and I feel like that is what they're going for here. Just unfortunately, you get a very stale movie at the same time. Number 65, we're going to have a controversial one here. Nope, Jordan Peele. I love Jordan Peele. I thought Get Out was fantastic, and I also really liked Us. But Nope, for me, was just very... I didn't think any of the characters or their motivations worked. I didn't think they felt real. I love the idea of this thing in the sky. I don't want to spoil it, but what was happening. And I thought the conclusion of that just went too far for me. I couldn't get into it. I think this movie it really bored me for the first half. Really bored me. But I can appreciate so many other areas of it. Like overall, again, I'd say I like the film. It's made it this high. But, yeah, I just was very disappointed. Drink time. Okay. People are going to laugh because I put this above Nope. But I don't care. Ticket to Paradise. From the director of Mamma Mia, George Clooney. Oh my god, love it. I like Mamma Mia. I think they're fun little movies. And this one here was very sweet, very wholesome. It was just such a pleasant watch. Yeah, the film does nothing incredible. You know, it uses your bog standard, like, the cinematography is average, the score's average, the plot itself is very paper thin. But it relies on these very sweet, wholesome characters and a really nice story. And it throws in some really funny moments. I had a very pleasant time with it, and I will definitely watch this one again at some point. It's very innocent, and I had a very good time with it. Shoot me. Then we had The Bad Guys, a DreamWorks movie, I think it was, yeah. Which was actually quite cool. I like the animation style to this one. I thought all the voice actors done a good job. Sam Rockwell done a really good job. Hell, DreamWorks have got to be proud of it, because they put it in their shitty new intro. But yeah, you know, The Bad Guys was, it was a really pleasant time, actually. Surprised me. Then we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Yeah, I'm counting this. And it might seem a bit low, because this was actually really pretty good. I've only put it this low because it's like 40 minutes, and it's just a very quick piece of media. But, you know, it's fine. I liked it. Great to see Kevin Hart in the MCU. The Christmas song at the start bangs. And it's also, I'm so happy that, obviously, because this is only a short, they decided to give Mantis and Drax the most screen time here, because they're the most undeveloped Guardians. And, you know, if we kept seeing Rocket and Star-Lord all the time, you really would forget about the other Guardians members. So it's cool to see them two get the spotlight. Then we have Matilda the musical. This was pretty good. The music in it was obviously really fun. I don't have loads to say about this one, to be honest. It was just a sweet little innocent movie. I think it probably was a little bit too long, but I liked how over the top it was, because this is a musical. I don't mind it when musicals go over the top like this. So yeah, there was some good moments to this one. Coming in 60th place, again, this one came out in 2021 in America, but here in the UK it was a 2022 release, and that is Sing 2. maybe better than the first one. The two Sing films are my favourite from Illumination Animation. They're both superior to all the other films that they've put out. This was really, really good, actually. I was worried it'd go down the Secret Life of Pets route, where the first one was decent, and then the second one they put no effort in. But they did put some effort in here. I loved the confliction with the villain. This film felt like it had more of a main protagonist, whereas the first one didn't. It was like, who is the main character? I don't know. It's all of them, I think. This one, it was obviously the koala. Also, the bringing back the rock star kind of thing was cool. And they got Bono for that, so that was entertaining. So, yeah. And we have Do Revenge, which is a film which I saw the posters for and was like, I'm not going to like that at all. Doesn't look like my film at all, but I had a really fun time with it. I thought both actresses were really good in it. There was some genuine laugh out loud moments in it, especially those couple Sophie Turner scenes. By the end of it, you are rooting for these characters to just remain friends, but yeah, they really like throwing each other under the bus, and it made for quite a dynamic story and some interesting moments. So yeah, I surprisingly had a good time with this one. And we have Dog. I like dogs. Who doesn't like dogs? And it was so nice, because, spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil this one, but the dog don't die. Thank fuck for that. I can't do these dog films where they die all the time. And it was just so nice to see this quite, this dog who's been through a lot, obviously, and just see it, I don't want to say, I want to say the word violent. Obviously, it doesn't mean to be violent, but see this very hyperactive, over-the-top dog interacting with Channing Tatum. And it's a really humble story. The ending of it is really sweet. And yeah, it's not the best film ever, but I like dogs, so screw it. Number 57 is going to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is a film I cannot make my mind up on. I watched it 2 or 3 times now. And every time my mind switches. In the cinema, I thought the first act was rushed. I thought the ending was rushed, but I liked the middle bit with the Illuminati. Then I watched it at home, and I got into the start more, and I liked the ending more. And I thought the Illuminati just felt too shoved in, and like it was just cameos for the sake of cameos. I can't make my mind up on this movie, but either way, I know it should have been better. There's barely any multiverse stuff in it, and the Scarlet Witch stuff. I love Elizabeth Olsen in this, and I thought she was one of the best bits. But her switch, considering she seems like the hero at the end of WandaVision, it feels a bit sudden, like there should have been a bit more build-up. I know they do a little tease at the end of WandaVision, but it is literally just a tease of her reading a book. So, yeah. Anyway, it's a good movie, definitely, but, I don't know, I'm still up in the air on it. Then we have The Black Phone. Ethan Hawke creates this new, iconic, villain for the horror world, and I really hope we get a sequel to this where we can see his character or his presence again, because it was very cool. There's a load of areas about this movie I loved, but there is one thing I really disliked, and that's that there is a paranormal side to this movie, with this kid and things that he can do, between him and his sister, I think it was, and it just doesn't get explained. And I've seen people try to defend it going, oh, but they explain that his mum had these abilities. It's like, yeah, but what are these abilities? We're in a real world where this guy's just sort of kidnapped this kid, and now there's a paranormal element, and there's no explanation as to why there's a paranormal element. So, yeah, go figure. But anyway, The Black Phone overall was still very good. And we got Enola Holmes 2. Wow, these Enola Holmes films, man. This is the second one now, obviously, and I just keep waiting for them to be bad. I thought the first one would be bad and it wasn't. I thought this one would be bad and it wasn't. So, yeah, what the hell? I think I preferred this to the first one purely because the ending was a bit better. And it's going to cause some controversy because what they do with Moriarty and Watson. People, the woke brigade are going to be out for this one. But I don't think many people watched it, so maybe they've avoided that. But yeah, I thought it was quite good. I thought that the main villain of this one, the guy who was in Harry Potter, who played Lupin, was in the first Wonder Woman as well. Thought he was great. Millie Bobby Brown, she's not one of my favourite actresses, but these are probably her best roles. I think she does really good in these. And yeah, fun, energetic. Henry Cavill, give this man a spin-off as Sherlock. For some reason, I would never have picked him as Sherlock, but for some reason, he's really good at this role. So, yeah. Hustle, 54. Adam Sandler. I really have grown to respect and love Adam Sandler. After Uncut Gems from... Was that last year or was it the year before? No, it was 2019, wasn't it? God, time flies by. Yeah, he's had some real cracking films lately. He's also had some stinkers in between still, so don't get me wrong. But yeah, I thought he was really good in this movie. Again, there's some low points in this movie where it does I'd say I want to say it's pacing issues, but I don't know if it's more to do with the editing room. But the thing that carries this movie is Adam Sandler. He's great in this film, and I do want to rewatch this one actually because it came out very early in the year. But I did really enjoy it. Number 53. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. What the hell? What is this doing here? I had a good time with it. It was very self-aware of what it was. And it fully embraced what it was. And it actually had quite a clever spin on it. How, you know, there were just jokes like one of the chipmunks has paid the money, had the upgrade to 3D CGI, whereas the other one's stuck in 2D animation form. And there was a lot of fun cameos. The ugly Sonic, what the hell? It actually cracked me up. The plot was really interesting. It was, look, overall it's a really dumb movie, but it was also so much fun. And as I say, there were clever elements to it. I thought the voice acting was good. Yeah, I thought this was actually a fine time. I'm not going to complain with this one. Right, two left, and then we're on to part 2, which come next week. Wow, we're at an hour. Oh my god. Right, number 52, The Outfit. Very, very clever gangster movie, more or less all set in one location, which worked really well for this movie. Seeing these different gangs come into this, you know, outfit, this clothing shop. In, I forget when this movie's set, the 30s or something like that. Was really interesting. Seeing this story just unfold in this one place was really great, and how it concluded was really, really cool, I thought. So yeah, The Outfit, good film. And the final film we're going to talk about today, coming in at number 51, is Beast. Yes, Beast. Starring Mr. Idris Elba. I kind of really enjoyed this one. There were some really over-the-top action sequences to it. But again, this film was very self-aware of what it was, and I think with that came the idea that the filmmakers just had a lot of fun with it, and it explored the good scenarios that they could put these characters in throughout this movie, on safari with this absolute mental case of lion on the loose. Yeah, and I thought everyone put in a pretty good performance. Idris Elba was really good, and the effects on the lion were really good. So yeah. Woo! There we go. That's nearly 100 films talked about there. I can't lie, I'm going to go and have a nap. I'm going to just die for a bit. There'll be another couple videos out before part 2, but part 2 will be coming probably, might even be the new year, but it'll be very early in the new year, like the 1st or the 2nd, but part 2 will be coming. So again, if there's any movies that you're still wondering where they are, because I've had like 3 comments on my videos so far about where Blonde is going to rank. Ooh. You know, I have seen it, so it's in the top 50. I'm in trouble, because that's going to cause some controversy. But anyway, you know, there's a few films that I still have yet to talk about. There's that, Avatar. Where's Avatar? So yeah, but anyway, we'll get on to all of those films. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, as always. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, leave a message, and I will see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.